All right, you lovely lot. It's Emily Bennett here, and today we're talking about buying your first property in the UK. Yes, you heard me right, the Great British Dream. But let's be honest, the process can feel more confusing than your nan trying to send a text message with emojis. Now, I know you've probably spent a few late nights scrolling through Zoopla, falling in love with a 3-bedroom semi in Croydon, only to realize it's out of your budget by about, well, £1 million. Been there, done that, bought the overpriced avocado toast instead. So, how do you go from aimlessly house hunting to actually bagging your own place? Stick with me, and I'll walk you through it, step by step. It's not as scary as it seems, I promise. Let's crack on. First things first, get your finances sorted. Buying a house is probably the most expensive thing you'll ever do, so it's time to stop spending all your cash on Pret sandwiches and start thinking long-term. Back when James and I were saving for our first home, we had to get serious. No more impulse buys at the John Lewis home section, no matter how cute those cushions were. Instead, we sat down with a cuppa, or, let's be real, a glass of wine, and worked out exactly what we could afford. Top tip: use a mortgage calculator online to get an idea of how much the bank's going to lend you. They'll look at your income, your outgoings, and your deposit. Speaking of deposits, aim for 10 to 20% of the property value. That means if you're after a £200,000 flat, you'll need at least £20,000 stashed away. I know it sounds painful, but that's where things like Help to Buy ISAs can give you a boost. Once you've got a rough idea of your budget, it's time to get serious. You need to get a mortgage in principle. It's basically a bit of paper from the bank that says, yep, this person's got their finances in order, which makes estate agents and sellers take you more seriously. Think of it like trying to get into a fancy London nightclub. You can't just roll up and hope for the best. You need to prove you've got a little cash behind you. Otherwise, you'll be left outside, listening to the music from the pavement. I remember when we got ours. Honestly, I felt like I'd been handed the golden ticket. It doesn't guarantee anything, but it gives you a good idea of what the bank's willing to lend you, and it's one step closer to that front door key. Now, for the fun part, house hunting. Time to get on Zoopla, Rightmove, and maybe even take a drive around some of your favorite areas. You know, the ones where you casually slow down by that dream house and say, one day, love, one day. We all do it. But here's the thing. Don't get carried away. Trust me, I've been there. We once viewed a Victorian terrace that had me swooning, but after the estate agent finished rattling off all the character features, we realized it was basically falling apart. Keep your budget in mind and try not to fall head over heels for the first house you see, especially if it's got dodgy electrics, a leaking roof, or that weird smell you can't quite place. So, you found the one, the house, not the partner. Although, if you're lucky, maybe you've got that sorted too. It's time to make an offer. And here's where you get to do a bit of haggling, like you're at a car boot sale on a Sunday morning. Now, I'm not saying offer half the asking price and expect them to bite. Be realistic. Check what similar homes in the area have sold for, and use that to guide your offer. And don't be afraid to go in a little lower than the asking price to test the waters. The worst they can say is no, right? I'll never forget when we made our first offer. My palms were sweaty. My heart was racing. It was like the property version of popping the question. Spoiler alert, they came back with a counteroffer, but we still got the place for less than the asking price. Result: before you get too carried away with dreams of Sunday brunches in your new garden, it's time for the survey. This step is crucial. Think of it like having your car MOT'd before you buy it. You don't want to hand over your hard-earned cash only to discover there's a massive crack in the foundation, or worse, damp in the walls. Nothing worse than dodgy damp in the UK, am I right? You've got different types of surveys to choose from. If the house is a bit older, like many lovely British homes, I'd recommend going for a full structural survey. It'll highlight any issues, and trust me, you want to know about them before you sign on the dotted line. James and I dodged a bullet with one house that looked fine on the outside, but the surveyor found that the roof was about to collapse. Close call. Right. We're almost there. After the survey comes the legal stuff. Your solicitor will handle all the paperwork, and once both parties are happy, you'll exchange contracts. This is when things get serious. There's no backing out now without losing your deposit. The day you complete is the exciting bit. You get the keys, you take a million photos of you and your partner standing in front of your new place, and you finally get to pop the bubbly. I'll never forget the moment we walked through the door of our first home, boxes everywhere, the smell of fresh paint, and the boys running around like they owned the place. It's a feeling like no other. Sure, it's stressful, and there are moments when you wonder if it's all worth it, but the second you step inside, it all makes sense. So, there you have it, a step-by-step guide to buying your first property in the UK. It's a roller coaster ride for sure, but one that ends with the best reward, your very own front door. If you've got any questions or you're ready to start the journey, drop me a comment below. And don't forget to subscribe for more tips on navigating the world of personal finance and property. Cheers for watching, and good luck house hunting!